Hi everybody, thank you for joining this video all about AAC therapy ideas for telehealth. My name is Kelly Savage and I am a speech pathologist and AAC consultant for Liberator. Just quickly some acknowledgements. I'd like to thank the Liberator therapy team for sharing all their ideas for this presentation. Also some speechy friends. We've all been thrown in the deep end, I suppose, with telehealth. So I'd like to thank them. I'd like to thank Jane and the AAC Language Lab team for putting out ideas for us all, the clients and families who've been on the AAC telehealth journey with me, and everybody who is sharing on social media all the different ideas that have been floating around, some of which I've included in this presentation. In terms of general telehealth tips, I think one of the first things to remember is that everybody is feeling a little bit uncertain about this method of delivery of services. It's new to all of us. So I found it really important just to have a discussion with families before our first session, just to talk to them about any questions that they might have, tell them a little bit about how it all works so that they can feel prepared for the first session. Once I had my first session, I made sure that everybody understood their role in the session and took time to prepare and explain the different activities that we would be doing, the goals that we would be working on, the vocabulary that we would be covering in the session, going through that with the adults in the room or the support people in the room so that they felt confident in modelling that vocabulary at their end throughout the session. I've tried to take the pressure off myself a little bit. It doesn't all have to be fancy apps and virtual games. I found that even just myself on the screen doing different types of language activities has often been what the family and the children are looking for, not necessarily all the fancy stuff. So take the pressure off a little bit, go with the flow. Sometimes all the preparation in the world won't save you in doing a telehealth session, and you might need to be creative and have some backup activities or even just follow the child's lead. And don't forget to have fun. Therapy is supposed to be fun, and we know that in order to get outcomes, it needs to be motivating for the individual. Certainly a big component of the telehealth that I've been doing has been coaching communication partners. And I think we should be broad-minded when we think about who are the communication partners that we need to involve in telehealth. Generally, it has been the parent, but certainly I've been working with support workers and siblings. And sometimes they're the communication partners that maybe aren't as confident in using the child's AAC system or adult's AAC system. So I have been covering off some AAC basics, including modelling, making sure we allow for wait time, which can seem like even longer when we're doing it via telehealth, how to respond to communication attempts and expand them, and also how to create communication opportunities during the session and throughout the day when people are stuck at home during this interesting period. Now, in terms of setting up the telehealth session, I've been talking with families a lot about how long should the session be. Certainly, I've had clients that could survive traditional therapy for a 60-minute session, but I think the medium of telehealth is just so different, both for myself as a clinician and for the client and the family at the other end. So in general, I have been doing shorter sessions and sometimes maybe 2 sessions of half an hour per week rather than a longer session. I've also found it really helpful to allow the client to have some control over the session. And so I've been offering choices at the start. They can choose which activity goes first. They might bring an activity of their own that they're wanting to play or work on. And normally I'm able to fit their goals into that particular activity on the fly. You might consider using a visual timetable, the same as you would in normal therapy. So I've been having a play with the ChoiceWorks app on the iPad, just showing my board maker page that I might have quickly made. I've enjoyed using lesson picks, particularly because I can get the unity and lamp symbols. And you can see an example of a schedule made with lesson picks on the screen there that only took 2 or 3 minutes to make. I've also been showing real things, so holding up the different activities that I might be doing on the screen, or even just using the paper version of the schedule that I would normally use and bringing the symbols up close and zooming them into my camera. I always have my Pass or Chat Editor software ready to go so that I can be modelling on screen and helping the client or the support person with them to find the required vocabulary. Thinking about positioning of the session has been important, and it's certainly been different for different clients. So think about what you need to be able to see, as well as what the client needs to be able to see, the position of your camera and the screens. It's very important that as a clinician, I'm able to have a really good view of what's going on so that I can do my observations and modify the session as required. I try and have my software and screens ready to go, so with any documents that I want to share, or even my software ready to go, all up on the screen, so I can try and make my screen sharing as seamless as possible, not that it always works. And I'm really trying to have a backup activity available. I can always use it in the next session, but I think it's been important when the session hasn't run as smoothly as I'd hoped, that I had something else to be able to fall back on. In terms of telehealth functionality, I'm not going to go into the different types of platforms that you might use for telehealth. I've been using GoToMeeting and Zoom. But in general, just think about what is the functionality that I might need to make the session work for myself and the people at the other end. So you can be sharing your screen, or the client can be sharing theirs with you. You can be remote controlling either their screen, or they can be controlling yours, depending on the software that you're using. Sharing the iPad has been great, and I've enjoyed sharing different fun apps and interactive games with clients, but you do need to be aware about pop-up ads and making sure that if you are sharing any content from your screen that has sound, that just checking in that the client is able to hear the sound. Make sure you share turn on your camera. I had one particular client that didn't want to see all the fancy things that I had to show on my iPad. They just wanted to see me and interact with me and have a conversation with me. Many of the platforms have a whiteboard or an annotate function, and I've found that useful for just typing on the screen, drawing on the screen, filling in worksheets and so on. And I've been following this Brain Talk speech pathology group on Facebook, and they've had some really interesting posts about putting yourself into a background and making that quite interactive. So you might be interested to check that out as well. They have a number of different videos that they've posted recently. Okay, so in thinking about how best to structure today's presentation, I've basically prepared for you to share about 3 different clients that I've been working with who are at stage 1, 2 and 3 and beyond. And I'm going to share with you just some ideas quickly, some different activities that you might want to do with them in telehealth. And I guess these particular activities have suited the goals that my clients have had, but hopefully it can give you some ideas for your clients too. Stage 1, these clients have been using single words and some early communication functions, including requesting, naming, greetings, commenting and rejecting. And I've loved the greeting side of telehealth, where some of my clients have been bringing their toys up to the screen, and I've encouraged other clients to do it since. So I've got lots of opportunity to practice greetings, and I've also been bringing my toys too, which particularly some of my younger clients have really loved. For clients at this stage, I've been thinking a lot about the single words and those high frequency call words that they could be using. So we've been playing lots of videos, songs. I've been singing, practicing some of those high frequency words like more, stop and play. Some apps that I've really enjoyed using for these types of vocabulary has been Help Kids Learn. I really like the inclusive technology apps, and lots of my clients like counting songs. And obviously, there's lots of different apps that you can use that you can stop and start, and videos that you can stop and start. Even just having some Spotify music, asking the client what they want to listen to, and doing some stop and start of those types of songs has been quite motivating, especially if the client can see me on the screen dancing about. Important to link those particular activities to the client's interest and sensory abilities. Here's some shots of me having a dance party with one of my clients that's currently doing an eye gaze trial. We found that music was very motivating for him. He grabbed his shaker and had a little interaction with me via the screen. So I grabbed out my drum and was clapping along. He was copying actions, going up to his eye gaze device and making a choice to play music. And then you can see they're having a lovely dance with his mum and a range of different core vocabulary that we were able to target. So that was a super fun activity. And you can see the different positions of the camera here. At one point, he was sitting up close with the telehealth screen right in front of him, interacting with me. And at another point, I was less part of the interaction. I was sitting back a lot further away. I was able to see his positioning with the eye gaze on the mount. and having some really nice interaction there with his mum. My colleagues and I have been really enjoying the Tokaboka apps, and I know these are a favourite of lots of speechies already. Heaps of opportunity to practice vocabulary, more hair, different types of colours, maybe some errorless choices for spray painting the hair, stop cutting, different types of that core vocabulary that we were able to use within these different activities. I have a number of clients that are using partner-assisted scanning on low-tech systems, and we've been practicing their yes and no. So, for example, we've been making some Do You Like books. I've had these just up in PowerPoint. I found motivating pictures on the internet or photographs that the family have sent me, and we've created some lovely little books. Do you like water play? Yes, I like water play. And then I might flip over to my video and be practicing nodding or shaking my head or whatever yes, no that particular client is learning. We've been creating lots of books in PowerPoint on all sorts of different topics. I'll share some more of those with you in a moment. I've also been playing this game called Switch Zoo, which is a funny little game where you can choose a different head, body and tail on animals. And so I've been scanning through those different choices and the client has been telling me yes or no to make a choice. My colleagues put together some therapy activities tables and handouts. And I've been using these as an example to share with families about simple toys and activities they might have around the home. So talking to them about what are the core words we'll be targeting, what are the pragmatic functions, outlining the specific goals or objectives, and then giving them activity ideas at different stages. So for example, we might do this balloons one together as an example, and then we might take the same template and pick an activity that the family have at home and an activity that they feel like they can incorporate into their day at the moment. I can certainly share these therapy activities handouts if you would like to email me. We've also been doing some vocabulary planning, and you might have seen this mind map before. So essentially we pick a motivating activity or lesson topic, lots of homeschooling happening at the moment, and then we brainstorm together with the family or the communication partner a range of different vocabulary, and then make sure that they know where to locate it in their device. Moving on to stage 2, so we're talking about individuals that might be talking with 2 and 3 word phrases, often with an increased range of communication functions. I found with these clients I've been doing a lot more turn taking and getting them to initiate a topic of conversation. So for these clients, I've again been writing lots of PowerPoint books together. Often in preparing for the session, I'll create the PowerPoint and have the photographs ready to go, or at least some to start off with. And I have a target in mind in terms of a repeated line that we might be able to practice throughout creating the book together. So this is an example of an I Like book. And I'll just bring it up for you. So I selected different types of pictures that the individual might like, and then we go through it page by page, finding that noun in their device and then practicing that I like sentence starter. I like pizza. I like pancakes. James likes cheeseburgers. James likes grilled cheese, and so on. Real foodie. I've been using pictures of the child's favourite characters on the screen, particularly for some of my clients who've been less motivated to come and engage with telehealth. I found that if I fill the screen with a photo of their favourite character, they might actually come and have a brief look and then been practicing teaching them some action words. Just having the context and creating something motivating to talk about. So one of my clients has been just going out to the favourite website of a topic that that individual really likes. So maybe it's football, talking about the West Coast Eagles, and then exploring vocabulary and conversation that might come out of that. Really photos of anything that's super motivating. Someone on one of the Facebook groups, I'm sorry I don't remember who exactly shared it, sent this file. I can bring it up for you. A really nice collection of all different scenes. Hopefully you can see that okay. Let me zoom that in a bit. They're quite comprehensive scenes, so they might not be suitable for some clients, say with vision impairment, but some really nice pictures with lots of different things going on to elicit some really nice language. So there's a nice collection of ready-made pics ready to go for you there. Watching small segments of video I've found has been a great way to create communication opportunities, and also the opportunity to practice starting and stopping of the video at different points where an interesting communication opportunity might arrive. I've been following Symbio Wildlife Park, and I understand that Perth Zoo is also doing some live videos. Symbio are doing a video every day of different feeding of different animals. And you can see here a range of different vocabulary. So I might play the video, wait for something to happen, then I might flip over to my software on the screen and model what I saw, and then create a communication opportunity for the individual to respond at their end. I've been doing heaps of shared reading. If you're not sure what shared reading is, definitely check out this sharedreader.org website. Essentially, I've been doing that in a range of different formats with real books and with a range of different interactive books. I recently signed up for Vooks, which has got some subscriptions going at the moment. I understand Epic does as well, but I haven't used that myself. There's heaps of read-along videos on YouTube. I've been enjoying sharing the Twinkle book, so this is an example of a story, again, about animals, about the zoo. I can click through the different pages. My clients have really enjoyed the flipping of the pages and asking me to do that. So some lovely little books available on Twinkle as well. And there is some free subscriptions going for Twinkle at the moment. I've definitely been reading lots of real books, so just myself reading the book and then maybe bringing the book close up to the camera and zooming in on some of the pictures. And I've also been thinking about whether it's most important for me to be reading the book, or perhaps it's more appropriate maybe for the parent to be reading a book that they've got at their home so that they can be practicing that maybe throughout the week. And then I might be the person that might be modelling language or commenting on the device software on the screen. If you're not sure about how to read a story and maybe do some interactive work on a device, there's heaps of videos online of people modelling AAC whilst reading books at the moment. So if you just Google AAC Bookshare or something like that, you'll probably find lots of different examples of people sharing books with the device that your individual client might be using. I've also been loving using Tar Heel Reader, and you might or might not be aware of Tar Heel Shared Reader. Check both of those out. Essentially, I download normally one of the books. You might not know that if you click on the little cog in the corner of the first page of the book, and then you can download the book as a PowerPoint. In terms of helping clients initiate a topic of conversation, I've been asking my clients, what should we read about? We've been searching for the book together while I've been sharing my screen, and then they might choose which book on the page comes up. From there, I tend to download the book, we read it together, comment on the book, and then sometimes I remove the words and we might even rewrite the book in their own words. So they've been quite motivating activities, particularly this book all about cookies. In terms of some parent coaching for clients that are at stage 2, I've been writing some AAC scripts with parents, again, choosing activity that's possible for them and motivating for them at this time while everybody's at home. And this is an example of one that my colleague Eleanor made for playing I Spy or I See. You can see that the different steps are outlined quite clearly in terms of what the communication partner might do, a script of what they might say, and then the keywords or what they might model on the device. And we've included the little smart chart symbols there as well to make it easy for the communication partner. Again, in trying to find really motivating material to bring up on the screen for clients, I've loved looking at ABC Kids. They've got a heap of different interactive activities and games. So Smoothie Maker's been quite popular, and Sun Safety with Dorothy, but there's a heap of different games, quite simple games. I found that you can start and stop them as you need to. So again, I've been doing that to create a communication opportunity within the game. And yeah, lots of the kids have really enjoyed looking up something about their favourite characters. The other one I've been playing around with is Disney games. They have a range of different activities for all the different types of Disney movies. Obviously, that's very motivating for some of our clients. This is an example of Olaf's Summer Sticker Spree, and you can make choices along the left-hand side of different types of Olafs, different types of objects to put in the scene. So I've had the client at the other end making choices, choosing what they want the characters to do. You can see some examples there of the types of vocabulary that have come out of that. From there, I can often email or snip the picture for them and then send it to them, and there can be more communication opportunities when they're sharing that with someone at home. Recounts at the end of the session have been great for these stage 2 and stage 3 and beyond clients. I quite like these are a couple of real recounts by one of my colleagues' clients, and I love the commenting at the end. Today was okay, and I didn't read the book, and today was different. And these have just been made actually in Keynote, so a little bit the same as using PowerPoint, but obviously more on the iPad, which was the tool that was available at the family's end. Definitely check out AAC Language Lab. There is free 2-month subscriptions going at the moment. This is a new activity that's just been put up, and if you check out Language Lab on Facebook, Jane has been doing so many posts about how to use Zoom and how to do telehealth and sharing different activities and ideas. So essentially, once you go into the Language Lab, you can search via what language level the individual is at, and then a range of different activities are available. This particular one I've got as downloaded here as an example. So you'll get the cover sheet that looks like this, and a range of different activities, speaking activities, reading activities, writing activities, and so on. You'll also get the different books and materials that go along with that lesson plan. So this one's called What Dogs Do. It'll just share with you what the target vocabulary is. So again, you might practice that at the start of the book before you start reading, so that all of the communication partners and the client are familiar with the words, their instructions, and then the book with a range of different vocabulary and fun pictures. This is the other book that goes along with that activity called Not My Dog. You can see a more extensive range of descriptive words. And you can see in this one, the target word is highlighted. So they're teaching some negatives here. So definitely check out the AAC Language Lab for a range of different activities and encourage families to do the same. Oh, the other thing you also get when you do one of these activities is along the side you can download the smart chart that matches whatever vocabulary you're using, if it's a PRC or a Saltillo device. So when you go to choose the smart chart, make sure you pick the one that corresponds with the vocabulary that your client's using, and then you'll get the smart chart for everyone to follow along and practice those words. Okay, stage 3 communicators tend to be building phrases and early sentences, learning some new grammar and increased, more complex sentence structure, using a larger vocabulary and starting to use some morphology. Often the users in this group are working on a range of different communication functions, I should say, and starting to work on those strategic skills, what to do if perhaps a word is not available in their system. So for one of my particular clients, we've been working on conjunctions, and obviously we can work on conjunctions in a lot of different activities, but I've been wanting to find something that's quite engaging and on screen. So I've been using Twinkle, and again, if you go onto the Twinkle Facebook page, you can get a code to be able to get a free subscription that's on offer at the moment. So just to give you a little bit of an idea about one of the activities that I've been doing, this is an example of one of the conjunctions activities on Twinkle, targeting when, because, and if. And it's really lovely structured activity. When you're in play mode of the PowerPoint, basically the sentences are hidden away, and so you can show the picture and then the client can have a go at creating the sentence. Certainly I've been bringing up my AAC software and having a go at maybe making the first sentence as a model, obviously making sure they know where to find that particular conjunction in their device. They could be using the word finder and typing out the word themselves. And then it has, I guess, the learning sort of pages of the activity, and then towards the end there is some sort of question and answers, which again my clients found quite motivating. In this particular one, the fish swim onto the screen, and then you can choose whichever word goes in the blank. So some quite nice structured activities, but have certainly been quite visually engaging for the client that I've been using them with. All right. I've also been doing lots of creative writing with this group, so just pulling up a PowerPoint or a Word document and finding a motivating and fun reason to write. I can share with you this 5 reasons I like to stay at home PowerPoint that me and one of my clients did together. So I would model on my on-screen software a sentence first and then ask the client to do the same. So in this example, if I click down to our 3rd reason here, gave us the opportunity to work on some morphology. So the initial sentence that my client wrote was, I feel happy about walk around my home in my walker. So it gave us the opportunity to highlight perhaps a word that needed to be corrected. And then we did some work around using ing. In this example, the client was trying to write quite a complex sentence. He wrote, we did cut the fence because not long to walk, 2 gates. And after a bit of discussion, I figured out that he was trying to tell me that they cut a hole in the fence and put in some gates because it was too long to walk around the fence. So we brainstormed some different ways of creating that sentence. It allowed us to work on some of the conjunctions we've been working on before, and then the client chose which sentence, number 3, best suited what they wanted to say. So very simple activity, but was, topical, motivating for the client to write about, and gave us an opportunity to work on a number of his different goals. Cooking. You might think, how are we going to do cooking via telehealth? It doesn't mean that you have to be the one actually doing the cooking at the time. You could be doing all that lovely priming work with the client, getting them to know the vocabulary, talking about communication opportunities that might happen whilst cooking with the parent or communication partner. So ways in which you might do this is, again, I've been using Twinkle and using a lot of their really nice visual recipes. So we've been talking about the ingredients that have been needed. We've been talking about the different steps involved, the different action words. Verbs are a real big goal for this client. So we've been talking about verbs like pour, beat, mix, and so on. So we might bring up the recipe visually. Even at my end have had some pots and pans and been showing the flour, been showing the real objects as well, preparing for doing the recipe later on. You might review it together, a nice example of a smart chart with some verbs and some commenting. And you can see here a lovely sentence that was put together by a client. I want eat pancakes, peanut butter, let's more, let's please. Sounds like he's ready to start cooking. The particular client that I've been doing telehealth with that's at a more complex language level, we've been working on him learning to give directions. So more detailed directions. He's recently transitioning to some new environments, and he needs to be able to, instruct new carers on things that he needs doing. So I was trying to think of creative ways to work on that, and one of my colleagues shared with me this quite fun game called Pig Pile. So basically what it involves is you have to move different objects, say the hay bale or one of the wooden blocks or the chicken, out of the way and allow the pig to fall safely on the platform. It gets more complex as we go along, and he loved this activity. So he was practicing, giving really specific instructions in the correct order. And obviously there's some problem solving that comes into this as well. So this particular website, FunBrain, has a range of different games that you might be able to work some of your language goals into. Certainly this one was very appropriate for my client. It's important to consider the auditory and visual complexity of the games in terms of the client being able to see and not be distracted by the auditory component. And it's also important that you have the ability to pause the game so that you can create communication opportunities throughout. So this one was quite good. After each step, you could pause and then he could give me the next step of the instruction, so that, worked nicely. A bit addictive as well if you want to get into playing Pig Pile yourselves. Lastly, we're working on some literacy goals with this client, and this Wordscapes is an app that I actually had on my phone that I was playing, but it was a fantastic app for this client. It allowed us to work on so many goals within one activity. So we have some literacy goals for him, including identifying initial sounds. We're trying to teach him initial letter cueing as a really good strategic skill for when he's not able to find a word in his device. It allowed us to really play around and do some work with words in different orders. It's very visual. You can see on the screen where you draw the line between the different letters, and then it brings that up on the screen, and we can talk about if that's a real word or not a real word. It allowed us to do some vocabulary instructions. So this app brought up new words that the client didn't know what they mean. So we're able to then go and type them into the word finder, see if they were in his device, talk about what the words mean, put them into sentences. It also allowed me to model some really nice descriptive language to this client. We have a goal for him that he'll be able to talk around a word if he isn't able to find it in his device. So while we were playing this app, if I knew what, for example, this 4-letter word was that was going down, if I knew what that word was, I was able to model a description about what that particular word was and for him to guess, which was really nice for him to be able to hear and have a go at doing that as well. So check out Wordscapes if you've got clients that are doing some literacy goals. He also found this very motivating because you earn coins and you go through the levels, and that was quite motivating for him as opposed to just doing a similar working with words activity on the screen. Just briefly wanted to talk with you about smart charts. If you're not sure what a smart chart is, it's basically the icons involved in being able to produce a particular word or sentence. And you might make them up for a range of different reasons to support the client to learn vocabulary and often the communication partner as well. If you haven't made one before, I'm going to quickly show you how to do that. So if you are using Accent devices or LAMP, you can download the PASS software and make sure you load the user area that matches your client's device. Once you've got the software loaded, you can just hit F11, or you can follow the pathway under vocab display options, and write with icons. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. So vocab display options, and then write with icons. This little box will be brought up in the middle of the screen, and you can choose whether you want to have just the icons or typed words. If you want core only, they're normally the main settings I look at, and you can also change here the size of the symbols that will come up. So just think about where you're going to use them and how big you might want them to be. Click OK. When you first load it, it may have a heap of instructions on the page, helpful to read those. I don't need the instructions anymore, so I've removed those. And basically from here, you can start typing in, say, the sentence starter you might be working on. And in LAMP, I can say that individually. I like, in this case, it'll bring up the shortest sequence, but if I don't want that, if I want like on its own, I can just click cancel. So any words that you're looking for, will come up. From there, normally what I do is just highlight it all, Control-C to copy, and then I might paste it in a Word document or PowerPoint or onto some flashcards or whatever I'm wanting to do with those particular icon sequences. So that's how you do it in PASS for Accent and LAMP devices. If you're using one of the chat devices, the LR7, Chat Fusion or Nova Chat devices, you can download Chat Editor and load the vocab file again to match what your client is using. And it's a little bit different for this device. You use what's called the capture function. So if I load my Chat Editor here, basically I can click on capture. Normally I just move this box out the way so I can see all my vocabulary. And then you just need to follow the pathway of the sentence or words that you're trying to add to your smart chart. So I like food popcorn. You can see it's produced that sequence up here. I can copy it. Let's get rid of these, and then I can paste it into wherever I need to so that I can then print it or PDF it and share it with the individual. Ideas for smart charts. You might create them for your favourite books or songs. You might create it for board games or vocabulary. Vocabulary for board games or puzzles that the family might be playing or using at home at the moment. Creating some vocabulary or sentence strips for everyday routine activities like getting your hair done or having dinner, things you might say at those activities. Or you might also think about it for engineering the environment. So at the moment. Maybe the individual loves going out the back to play, so you might stick a printout or encourage the family to print out and stick by the door some different vocabulary or ideas for what can be modelled for that individual to be able to go outside, like go out, come in, I want trampoline, let's play. One of my clients who's in primary school was given a little daily diary to complete as part of their homeschooling, and I wanted to make it more accessible for the individual so that they could use their device to talk about what they did in the day. So I took the same diary that the school was using and just made a smart chart, added in the symbols to help mum and him be able to produce the sentence starters to be able to talk about his day. Again, if you want to email me, I'm more than happy to share this with you. This one is made using LAMP 84 full. All right, so overall, I think the most important thing to consider is just be goal focused in your telehealth. Take the goals that you were working on before. Yes, you might have to modify them. Yes, you might have to think outside the box, but those same goals can still be targeted via this means. Make sure you practice the vocabulary first at the beginning of the session so that everyone feels comfortable in modelling and using those words. Be sure to explain the activity and prepare the materials and explain what different people's roles in the activity will be. That's really handy because it can avoid people interrupting each other, which can be a bit awkward sometimes on telehealth, and just makes everybody feel comfortable to know what their job is to do in the activity, and also so the client doesn't get overwhelmed with too many people giving them instructions. Ensure your cameras are set up well to allow you to observe and also to ensure the client can see what you are sharing with them. Be sure to check in with the family at the end of the session. Check that you observed the same as what they observed in terms of the outcomes for the goals that you were working on, just in case you missed something. Sometimes I found it a bit hard to see if the client did that independently. If I can't see the screen on their device, maybe someone helped them get to that page, which is great. I just need to know that so that I can be aware that I'm collecting the right data from the session. I found it helpful to spend the last few minutes of each telehealth session agreeing on what worked well and what didn't, and what we might try next time and what we won't, deciding on if there's any home practice. And often I've been maybe sharing the book electronically with the family that we've worked on during the session, or I might send them the PowerPoint book or the Tahil reader that we use so that they can continue to work on that throughout their week and get more practice. And I often plan for the next session at that time with the family. So we might talk about, next time, maybe let's do Play-Doh together. And then they can be prepared to do that and have those materials available at their end. A couple of free subscriptions are available at the moment. So AAC Language Lab has a free 2-month access, as well as Realise Language Lab, which is helpful if you're trying to determine how a child or adult is going on their device at home. If you're not seeing them directly, getting them to turn on the data logging and linking it to Realise will mean that you can remotely support by checking in with how they're using their device. Just some links to some more ideas and more places that have been sharing lots of things about telehealth. So AAC through Motivate, Model and Move Out of the Way is a Facebook group that you might be interested to join and share. Checking out Jane and the AAC Language Lab on Facebook. There are plenty of ideas on there, and also some technical tips about sharing your iPad with Zoom and those sorts of things that I haven't gone into today. Check out Jane Farrell's new comprehensive literacy website with lots of ideas. I know families are struggling a bit with literacy, particularly if their child has complex communication needs, so you might want to check that out for ideas. I understand Ginger Games has a collection of games designed for alternative access, and they also particularly have games available for special education. I haven't done the games myself, but that's one that someone's recommended to me. Practical AAC had a Learning at a Distance post recently, which shared lots of awesome activity ideas. And the Saltillo Chat Corner has lots of implementation ideas as well. If all else fails in your telehealth sessions, just remember your goals. You know what they are, and you know how to make meaningful and creative communication opportunities within any activity. So just focus on your goals. I had one particular client that was getting really agitated on her first telehealth session, and I know she loves dogs, so I just grabbed my dog, I picked him up, I sat him on my lap. He yawned. We practiced tired on her device. She thought he might want to go to the kitchen to eat, so we modelled that on the device. It was a really nice interaction and just allowed for that 5 minutes of initial engagement. We still worked on her goals. We were still using her device, but it allowed her to sit and look at the screen, which was the first step. Even just having snack time together might create a nice, gentle introduction to telehealth together. You can have a snack, the client can have a snack, and you can have a chat about that. I've had great success with children bringing their toys and other things up to the screen and sharing them with me to create communication opportunities, really giving them some control about what they wanted to talk about in the session today. And in most cases, I have been able to link this back to do some appropriate modelling on the device and encourage some appropriate usage for them related to their goals. Don't forget about the power of you. I know I've talked about lots of different online games and apps and things today, but really the most engagement I've got has been me on the screen. So do something silly. Maybe join the telehealth session in a dress-up costume or wearing a silly hat. Just having a chat to your clients, seeing them on the screen, having some nice interaction, share about something that you've been doing and perhaps they'll do the same. Do something wrong, like put together your Mr. Potato Head with the wrong body parts and see what happens. Acting things out. Make up a story with your toys and figurines, with you on the screen, having that meaningful interaction. And certainly I found that lots of parents have just enjoyed having that 10 minutes at the start or the end of the session on their own to chat, to brainstorm about ideas and activities for home, and just to debrief, given we're all in this unusual situation at the moment. Thank you for joining the session today. For those people that did try and join the session live, apologies, we had some unusual technical difficulties, so I hope you've enjoyed watching the recording today. If you're interested in other upcoming webinars by Liberator, please check out our website, follow us on Facebook, or join up for our newsletter and you'll be notified about those things directly. Thanks, everybody.